Okay, hello everybody. What's the date today? It is 17th of June 2018, and it's been a long time since I've actually looked at the news. Let's see what's been happening in South Africa for the last 2 weeks or so. I hope it's going well with all of you. I hope you're enjoying some good weather. If not, well, hopefully the weather change. Let's have a look here. Hello. Okay. Travelers urged to comply with SA import regulations. Okay, some import regulations, whatever. It's going to be probably more like local on the borders versus people flying in from overseas. Ritual practices, there you go. Witchcraft in Africa, yo. What can you say? They go, they dig up graves or they kill people and then take body parts for witch doctor stuff and charms and magic and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, happening more and more in South Africa. And here we have the Hartbeespoort Dam close to Pretoria that's totally run over with Jacinth, and the place is turning a bit south. People are now jumping in to fix it because actually the water department that's responsible isn't fixing it. There you go, hijackers in accident, 2 arrested, good. So hijackers getting caught, happy days. News not too bad. The positive here, well, let's just say not negative. Here you go, car thief got kidnapped and brutally murdered. Now that is interesting. See, what's happening here is probably vigilantes basically catching a car thief and killing him. And that's happening more and more in South Africa as well. So the hardcore criminals, they paint the country with blood, and now the community is painting the country with blood as well. So not good. I'm just enabling advertising on my browser. By default my browser doesn't do advertisements, and I like to, most of the stuff I go on is in any case things I would like to support. So let's see here. Browns Farm, 5 suspects appeared in magistrate's court, kidnapping, robbery and murder. They kidnapped a 21-year-old after he stole a vehicle, and then they basically gave him what they thought he deserved. Main thing is, a lot of criminals get away with crime in South Africa, so you can understand why these people actually go after stuff. So yeah, attack on Durban police officer. Let's see here. On a police officer. The police is always also victims of serious violent crime in South Africa. Criminals in South Africa get away with everything. Literally everything. You can't even say they get away with murder. We all know they get away with murder. Commissioner K9 unit was returned home from work. Constable was returning home. On an assailant opened fire on his vehicle. There you go. So killing all the policemen. It's like big mobster gangs basically eliminating anybody that stands in their way. It's not boding well for South Africa. So Menlyn Mall, there was a big robbery in Menlyn Mall. They caught 6 of the robbers. Menlyn Mall, for those that don't know, is a massive mall in South Africa. I mean, you actually look at that place, it looks like an airport. It is really big. I mean, you will be surprised how big it is. And it's really brazen for gangs of hardcore criminals to go into a place like that and just rob, for instance, a jewelry store or something like that. And usually they get away with it. Robberies like that happen in South Africa every day. Okay. Courts rule that religion cannot be used as a defense for what? Anti-gay hate speech. Africa is an interesting place, you know. I mean, get a lot of people in Africa that is not happy about homosexuality. You get a number of countries in Africa where it's totally illegal and people actually get the death penalty or life sentences. And you know, if you live in a country where people get away with lawlessness, then they will go and just commit violence against anybody. Now, your morals is your problem, you know, but going directly after people just because they're not you violently, it's just no good. Eskom and trade unions holding South Africa hostage. So good old Eskom, the bankrupt electricity provider in South Africa, they're in trouble, but they're hiking prices, I think by a factor of 2 or 3 actually. And we always know trade unions hold South Africa hostage. I mean, the platinum mine strikes basically brought big cities to their knees. You had the steel and industrial workers strikes. They brought like half the country for a couple of weeks to its knees a couple of years ago. Britain really taught South Africa how to do strikes and how to get the unions to enforce power. And now all the unions in Britain is broken. The unions in Africa is really causing havoc. American broadcaster visits farm attack victims. So it seems the word is coming out. You had the Belgians and the Dutch and the Germans coming over. And I have an American coming over. So they're actually finally saying, you know what, these farmers are actually hate. Which is exactly what it is. You just have to go look at a couple of my videos mentioning of the horrors that happens in those farmers. 80-year-olds getting brutally murdered and tortured. It's here. Okay, so AfriForum actually got a bit of traction internationally. Good for them. At least they're trying something. You know, you might not like the people they mingle with or their ways that they're actually getting attention, but they are trying something. And for that matter, if you're upset about AfriForum, the people they mingle with, for the way they want to try to get people to notice what's going on, just look at the EFF and the way they go on. Nobody ever talks about that. So, here you go. Here's a family farm, and the 78 and 74-year-old were murdered in May this year in a farm attack. I think I actually mentioned it as well. And ABC, which I think is actually a fairly big broadcaster in the US, they actually interviewed, guess, the children. Yeah, man. Now it's all coming out. Now it's out in Pandora's box. It's really not going to be closed again. And it's going to become very interesting in South Africa. Very interesting. Okay. Let's see here. What else do we have? Good. So at least there's international traction looking at the plight of some people in South Africa. They should be looking at the plight of a lot more people than just the farmers. There's a lot of others super evil in South Africa. Land reform, yes, it's true. The Gauteng Premier will burn his finger, but the whole country will burn their finger. Land reform will basically break the country. And you can be upset with me saying it, it's just a fact. Socialist, communist dogma like that always ruins countries. That's not me, that is just history. Got the heroin bust, happy days. Huh, South African police buildings are hijacked. So they've actually got illegal people occupying police buildings. Gotta be kidding me. And you know where a country is going. Totally down the tube. Here you go. Top police leaders right at the top of the echelon in court for corruption, fraud and money laundering. You know, if it's at the top, then it will always filter down to the masses. That's just the way it is. Violence at a hospital. Now that's interesting. Let's see here. The whole committee talking about the violence at the hospital. So basically there were performance bonuses that were not paid to the workers. Empty promises as always from government leaders, management. Always like that. And then because the workers are not being listened to, they then go and take matters into their own hands. It's always the same in South Africa. Let's see here. 15 years imprisonment for murder, so the guy's probably out in 5. There's a guy that killed a policeman in the Eastern Cape in Port Elizabeth, close to where Mandela grew up. A lot of the ANC leaders come from that area. Let's see here. Farm attackers opened fire on couple, wife critically wounded. Mori Mole. Another farm murder. It's always the same. Always the same. Recreational murder and violence in South Africa. That's what we do. Couple in their 70s. Once again, old people being murdered. Old people being murdered. Not even to go through any of this. No, really. There's just so many of these. So many. Axe wielding robbers. Women robbed. Stolen stock being sold in a tuck shop or something in in Bloemfontein, big city in South Africa. Off-duty policeman shot and wounded, and a boy 10 is killed. Yeah. 4 most wanted suspects. What are they wanted for? Let's see here. They just look like normal South Africans. They don't even look that heavy. Offering rewards for information lead to their arrests. They're very dangerous. They're part of taxi-related murders. Taxi wars. That's exactly what it is. Taxi wars are brutal. They run it like mobs and gangs. Drug lord arrested in Limpopo. Good. So someone else will replace him and do exactly the same thing. Crime stats in South Africa never drop. Give blood, share life. This is actually quite an interesting one. Maybe we should do this one separately. I'll hold that one there. 32 billion approval for Eskom RCA application. I don't know what the RCA, Regulatory of South Africa. Now it's 32 billion approval for regulatory clearing account applications, whatever that means. You can be pretty sure a large part of that money will be siphoned off by management and politicians. Thousands of worker protests, 0 pay increase. Now inflation in South Africa is what, about 4-5%, so no wonder they're complaining. But you can be pretty sure there's probably a small bit of violence involved as well. We're together to fight farm murder. Suddenly the black people care about it. They don't really care about it. Which is understandable. There's a lot of other violent murders in the townships and in black communities that they're trying to fight. And the farming community is a very small part of South Africa. And it's a lot of white people that used to benefit immensely in the old apartheid days and pay their workers minuscule amounts and then complain. So you can understand why the black leaders don't really care too much about the white farmers. The only reason they really care about it now is because there is international tension. But the murders won't stop. It doesn't matter. Murders won't stop. The productive land will be taken. That will be the end of South Africa. You can be sure of that. You can be sure that will be the end of South Africa. Farming is almost the only thing that still works in South Africa. You've got some developments going on and there's a lot of pressure on mining and industry. So there's so much pressure on farming, mining and industry. At some point it will filter through to services and nothing will work anymore. Huh. Some guy was blowed about $40 million. Probably some corrupt thing that the guy was busy with, just expanding public enterprises, taking a bit of money for himself, and then the country gets nothing for it. Yeah. City robbers were on bail for other attacks. Police constable involved. Cash in transitized robbers. Yeah, man, these guys get $50 bail. They go out, they rape some people, they murder some people, do some cash in transitized, blow some ATMs up, and then they just go through the cycle again. So expropriation starts in Gauteng. Now this is interesting because this is actually against the laws of the country. Unused land. Question is, what do you see as unused land? You know, most black people won't use the land in any case when they get it. The land will just be unproductive. Expropriation without compensation immediately. That's the end of South Africa. That is the end of South Africa. That you can be sure of. Abandoned baby. There's always a lot of abandoned babies in South Africa. Police station attacked. Ha! There you go. Let's see here. Served arrest of 16 suspects in 24 hours for attacking a police station in Eersterus. That is, I think, the old colored area in Pretoria. I might be wrong. Okay, there was an intelligence operation. 12 suspects were arrested. 13 suspect possession of dope. 3 of possession of stolen property. Criminals looted shops during a service delivery protest. What's new? That happens every single day. They just chuck that in on the sideline. Yeah. Service delivery protest. We'll just go and rob the shops blind. Maybe burn a couple of trains, burn a couple of buses. And lately what we'll do is we'll even burn a couple of government workers' houses as well. Yeah, man. Sweet. Close that one off. What else do we have? Yep. What else do we have here? Let me stop that first.